Hello, students, and welcome to today's lesson. It's the end of the week, it's Thursday, and I'm sure you're looking forward to the weekend. Well, I thought that instead of planning your story for Scheherazade from next week, I thought about let's have a think about it today so that when you come to drafting next week, it will be easier because you would have already had your plan. Now, the good news is that you already have the language structures and the vocabulary and the ideas. You have loads of ideas from all the stories you've been reading and listening to. All right, so let us look at what you will be doing today. Today, you will be planning your story, and I thought you could choose either a picture story, a graphic story, a full text, by considering first your audience and purpose. Okay, so with a picture story, it's you telling the story only in pictures. Now, to do this, you should have the ideas in your mind and some language structures on your notepad so that when you come to annotate or draw your pictures, you know what your first scene might look like, what your next scene might look like, and so on. With a graphic story, now here you are going to do your story with pictures and with text, all right? It's a bit like a comic strip style. Now, going back to the picture story, let's just talk about the audience as well. So this will be for your younger readers. If you are choosing younger readers for your story, then go for that. A graphic story, like a comic style with your pictures and your text, would be for your age group of children. All right, so that would be your audience. And for a full text with no pictures, just the text, just the story, then you can also think about children of your own age. Okay, and the purpose, of course, is to entertain your reader. Now, when you come to plan your story, you can think about the story type, okay, or use a character that you are familiar with. For example, you are familiar with Alibaba, you are familiar with Aladdin, you are familiar with Sinbad. You've been listening to many of his voyages. The last bullet point here is make up a character. For example, a name, just giving it a name, Hamdan. You can choose your own character instead of these characters. In that way, you create your own story, but using the ideas from there. So perhaps if I'm going to choose Sinbad, I might want to think about his voyage 8. So then you're going to read voyage 7, have a look at the way voyage 7 ends, and then think if you can adapt that. Now, the other character I did not include here, and perhaps you could think of it as well, Scheherazade. Remember to bear in mind your 2 themes we chose last week. Do you remember? Yes, compassion and forgiveness. So it might be the story for the 1002nd night that you write your story, all right? For. So you write your story perhaps using Scheherazade where the King Shahryar then forgives and he comes to think about his actions. He's really each day he's really grown to love and adore Scheherazade, and now he's thinking about forgiving and he's showing some compassion and love and kindness. All right, so you're going to I think going for creating your own story would really show how you've understood these Arabian Nights tales. Okay, now girls, when you are planning, think about your story ideas first. Now you've had a little bit of on audience and purpose, and then you're going to do a mind map. So all this will go into your book before we come here to creating storyboards. Now, also to help you with mind map ideas, you will have at the end of the lesson, I will draw your attention to Education City, all right? So when you're thinking about your mind mapping ideas for your story, think about it in terms of settings, characters, and actions, all right? And then alongside that, you already have your language structures that can go with that. Now let's have a look at what your storyboards might look like. So the first template I've left without any bits filled in here. You've just got the broad headings. So in the first one, you're introducing the character and the setting. What is the setting? So your picture will be your character and your setting. Here you will introduce the mission or the quest or the problem. What does the main character do about it? So think about the type of picture you would have here. In this one, introduce any other characters and how do they contribute to the problem. Now, one tip is I wouldn't go for too many characters, all right? So think about how you want to use that character. For example, in Aladdin, you've got the magician, okay? And in Sinbad, you've got his namesake, Sinbad, the porter. So you've got those two characters, all right? So don't go for more than 3 characters, I would suggest. In the next box, you could have an exciting event. What does the main character do? Okay, remember your theme, compassion and forgiveness must always come through. More events, so another event. So you've got one event there and another one here. What do the other characters do? And finally, how does the problem get solved? And the moral of the story. But your moral of the story does not just appear in the last scene. You are sort of giving hints on the moral of the story throughout your piece of work. Now let's have a look at the one with more planning into it. So looking at the story of Sinbad on, the Valley of Diamonds, that voyage, if you haven't listened to it yet, then please do so. So here we have the main character, and this is how the planning went in there and the setting. On one of his many voyages, Sinbad's ship stopped at a beautiful mountainous island covered with trees. He went ashore and decided to take a nap. So straight away you can see by having this there, it gives you an idea of the picture you would want to draw. So of course you're going to have an island or and with mountainous island with lots of trees. You might want to show the seashore and maybe Sinbad's ship and how he's now, maybe there's footprints on the sand in your picture, and then you show him having a nap. Maybe he's fast asleep under a tree. Okay, so that could be your first picture. In the second one, now I won't go through all, you can pause the recording and have a read. So here you're introducing the problem. So Sinbad awakes and he discovers that the ship had set sail without him. He explored and discovered a white dome. A huge shadow fell over him, cast by a huge bird, a rock. The dome was actually the bird's egg. Sinbad tied himself to the bird's legs to escape the island, eventually landing in a valley full of diamonds, surrounded by steep stones. So that's interesting, isn't it? You've got lots of description here, and that description will help you draw your picture. So, girls, I think you get the idea here. So, if I were you, my suggestion would be to put some words down in your mind map about your scenery before you come to do your pictures, even for those of you who are going to choose the picture text, okay? Now, just some ideas for your drawings. Remember, you can use cartoon pictures, stick figures are okay. And also think about, in your picture, what do you want to be in the foreground? Like this is the foreground, the focus here is on the character. So how close to the action do we want to be? Okay, so the action in that scene, is it important for your reader to see your character in the foreground? And if you look at this picture, you've got the house and the trees in the background. Okay, think carefully about your setting. Remember, it's in Baghdad. Okay, then you can go for really dynamic poses in your action scenes. Here you've got this character running off. Okay, and here someone's fallen over, and here a bit of color. Yes, really great, powerful imagery you create in the reader's mind. All right, and let's have a look at one more. So avoid drawing people. Yeah, if you avoid drawing people, it might be helpful. So you might want to just have not too many people in each scene, so you're having just more of the settings described, okay, or in your scene telling the story. Therefore, don't choose more than 3 characters for your story. Okay, girls, so that's the end from me. But what I'd like to show you now, remember to, I'll show you Education City, but remember you need to refer to your research notes, all right? This is an important day, planning your story. Remember to use your research notes. You do not need to print the storyboards, you can draw them, okay, in your own style. But if you think it's going to be easier to print it, then that's fine. By all means, go ahead. Now, in Education City, once you log on, you will go to the date that says the 9th of April. And once you log on, it would look like this. Now you have 2 learn screens, okay? It's not really an activity, it's 2 learn screens. The first one talks about the entire writing process. It gives you an overview of the writing process. Okay, 5 steps. I'd like you to listen to it because it's interesting. And then the second one is on planning. And this is where the planning is important. Now, here it's not really based on the story you are doing, but it gives you the general idea. So, for example, thinking about your ideas first. I would think about, for example, we talked about Sinbad, my own story. I would remember to put in the words compassion and forgiveness. I will choose my other character. I will briefly state the problem. Your audience and purpose, that's easy. You've got that out of the way. And then your mind map ideas, like draw like a little story web in your book before you come to do the storyboard. Okay, so in terms of settings, where is your story taking place? Make it like a movie in your head, each scene. First scene in the movie, where is it taking place? Then where's it moving to next? Then where's it moving to next? Then have a look at your characters and the actions and take all your vocab and language notes from your research and put it into different places into your storyboard. Okay, girls, that's it from me. All the best and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.